Family coasters come in all shapes and sizes, but today, let's highlight the ones that have particularly good theming and immersive stories. Before getting into the list though, here are a couple of honorable mentions. Fire in the Hole at Silver Dollar City, Black Diamond at Knoebels, The Underground at Adventureland, and Blazing Fury at Dollywood are all dark ride coasters. Because of the fact that they're more dark ride than coaster, I thought it would be a little unfair to include them in this list, so we'll give them honorable mentions here. Of the ones mentioned, I think Fire in the Hole, which recently got refurbished by RMC by the way, is the best of the bunch. So with that out of the way, here are America's 10 best themed family coasters. Number 10. Laff Trakk at Hershey Park. This is the traditional Mauer spinning coaster, but it's placed indoors. There's no complicated story or anything here, but there are lots of neon lights and cutouts throughout the course, and this really dresses up a ride layout that is decent, but is definitely plus by all this theming. It's just dark enough that you can't see where you're going nearly as easily, and yet you still can appreciate those theming elements. Good job, Hershey. Number 9. Dark Knight, located at Six Flags Great Adventure and Six Flags Great America. In the same way that Laff Trakk is your traditional Mauer spinning coaster, these are your traditional mock Wild Mouse, but they're definitely dressed up. There's a themed building you enter to get to the ride, and then a pre-show and some other effects in the queue. The ride itself features a darkened environment with some writing on the walls as you go back and forth through Gotham City. For Six Flags, this is pretty good. When you compare it to Disney or Universal, it's not anything too crazy, but it goes to show that a little bit of theming can go a long way. Number 8. Backlot Stunt Coaster, located at Kings Island, Kings Dominion, and Canada's Wonderland. After a decent launch and a punchy upward helix through an abandoned parking garage, you pass some other vehicles and road signs. You pass through a tunnel, and usually stop for a show scene where a helicopter shoots at the train and there's a fire effect. The ride ends with the train bursting out of a billboard and turning back to the station. Overall, this is a really nicely themed coaster once you get on, even though there isn't a ton of theming in the queue. Give Paramount some credit here. They were the ones that designed this ride, originally as Italian Job Stunt Track. But when Cedar Fair took over, it took on a more generic name and more generic theme, but most of the theming is still intact. Number 7. Slinky Dog Dash at Disney's Hollywood Studios. This is the anchor attraction to the Toy Story Land of the park, and a ride that gets ridiculously long queue times. The layout is fine, not really anything to shout at, but it is very approachable for all ages and enjoyable for all ages. This is also one of the cutest coasters in the world with that train. From a layout perspective though, one area of theming that was a nice touch was the little hills in the second half of the ride. These don't provide any airtime, but they mimic the movement of a Slinky. Besides that, there's a little bit of theming during the ride, including a tunnel that you pass through during the launch, and there's also some nice theming in the queue. Overall, this was a good anchor attraction for the area, and it's definitely one of the cuter roller coasters you'll see. Number 6. Space Mountain at both Disneyland and Disney's Magic Kingdom. This is an absolute classic, one of the most well-known roller coasters in the world. Both tracks of Disney World's Space Mountain came in 1975, with Disneyland's coming soon after in 1977. Both of these coasters feature a sleek dome that houses the attraction. Magic Kingdom's does house 2 tracks, so it is bigger than Disneyland's, but Disneyland's is still excellent. From a theming perspective, these coasters are slightly different, in particular on the lift hills, but one thing they have in common is the tunnel. This always gets you excited for your ride, especially because the lights get faster and faster as you get nearer and nearer. Then, unless there's some sort of special event going on or it's re-themed to Hyperspace Mountain, the coaster takes place in near complete darkness. Twisting throughout the Starfield definitely feels faster than 32 miles an hour, which is the Disneyland version, or 27 miles an hour, that's the Disney World version. Overall, a really good, iconic family coaster. Number 5. Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, located at Disneyland and Disney's Magic Kingdom. Well, a little bit of deja vu here, but for a very different type of ride. It's a mine train from Vekoma and one of the best out there. Not too many people know that it's actually kind of a creepy theme, as you are riding on abandoned and haunted mine trains. For what it's worth, that part of the story isn't really that clear from the ride experience itself or the queue lines. There is some mining equipment in the Magic Kingdom version, but the Disneyland version's queue is actually pretty bare. The ride itself makes up for it though, with a lot of rock work. The rock work here is some of the best of any coaster in the world. Overall, Thunder Mountain is a joy to ride through, and the forces are just good enough between the airtime and the laterals to make this one of my favorite family coasters. Number 4. Journey to Atlantis at SeaWorld Orlando. Of the 3 Journey to Atlantis coasters here in America, this is definitely the most well themed. The one in San Diego has some theming, the one in San Antonio has absolutely zero theming, and then you have this one in Orlando, a pretty well themed attraction. In fact, it has a whole dark ride scene before the main drop. This has some nice lighting and looks pretty detailed, and it builds anticipation for the ride's main plunge. I appreciate how on this version of Journey to Atlantis, you actually journey to Atlantis, unlike some of the other coasters with the same name. After the first drop and splashdown, you take a right-hand turn and go back inside before having yet another drop and yet another splashdown. This was the coaster that really got SeaWorld started on coasters, and for that, give it its props. Number 3, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train at Disney's Magic Kingdom. We have a theme going on right now, roller coasters that have a dark ride scene. This time, it's located in the middle. This coaster features mine cars that slightly swing back and forth on certain parts of the coaster. After a small lift hill, you slowly wind around a couple of turns before taking a left-hand turn into your dark ride scene. Some of the best animatronics in all of Disney World can be found in here. The multicolored mine is just the backdrop as the dwarves sing the famous song Hi-Ho. This is by far the best part of the ride, and it leads you into the ride's biggest drop. It's only 41 feet tall and 34 miles an hour, so it's definitely not anything crazy, but you pair the trains with the dark ride scene with awesome rockwork and landscaping, and you get a really well themed attraction. Number 2, Verbolten at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. When this Zero coaster opened in 2012, it had big shoes to fill, but you know what? I think it's filled them pretty well. It's different than its predecessor, but very cool in a different way. While riding Verbolten, your train gets struck by lightning, and you're sent into the Black Forest. There's actually different stories you can experience going in the Black Forest, giving this ride a lot of re-ride value. This coaster is themed from the start. It does have that detailed indoor bit, but the trains are also very detailed. The queue is very detailed as well. This is a very dynamic, well-themed experience from start to finish. United Parks, formerly SeaWorld, isn't really doing this level of theming anymore. I hope they can get it back. And coming in at the number 1 spot is Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure at Universal's Islands of Adventure. For a few years, this was the world's most expensive roller coaster ever built. It cost Universal $300 million, and there are a few reasons for that. The first reason is from a track perspective, this coaster has a lot going on. There's over 5,000 feet of track here, including 7 launches and a drop track and a backward section. And of course, there's more theming to go along with the layout. There's animatronics placed throughout the layout, there's onboard audio with Hagrid and music playing, and the landscaping is beautiful. You also know that you're going to have to wait a very long time to ride this coaster, but this coaster at least does have a very well themed queue line to make that wait a little more bearable. Hagrid's looks really awesome. I think the wait times are justified for the most part. I can't wait to ride it when I visit Universal, and I think it's the best themed coaster for families in America. So there you have it, America's best themed family coasters. Let me know where you think I went wrong or where I went right in the comment section below. If you want to see the best themed thrill coasters in America, then that video will be popping up in just a second. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.